Hi, this is Jay Cardiello. I just got off the Resilience Minds podcast with Eric Barons. And let me tell you, we had an amazing time talking about rapport, building strategies, and focusing on you. Let's live our legacy together, and hope you enjoy this podcast.
Everybody, welcome to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm super humbled, extremely grateful to be sitting here with Mr. Brother.
How are you today, Eric? How's everything going?
Dude, it's been epic. I'm super grateful. I know we're in and out, and it's great because this is the beauty of, the Wi-Fi signals inside of the jungle. Rainforest. So first off, welcome to the show. I'm super grateful to have you here, brother. And for those of you that don't know Jay, I have so many amazing acknowledgments to really allow you to see, because this man is a man on a mission, doing brilliant things in the world. And I'm excited to say that Jay he's an entrepreneur in health and wellness. He's been in the health and wellness space, and is a former writer for the very well covering men's fitness. For the past decade, he's served as a professional in such sports like the NFL and MLB, and he's worked with some of the biggest names in entertainment, such as 50 Cent, J-Lo, Rami Malek, and Sofia Vergara. He's a TEDx speaker. He's authored 2 best-selling wellness books, co-starred in the ABC television production, My Diet is Better Than Yours, and most recently developed a 12-week behavioral intervention program designed to treat addiction, PTSD, and obesity. That really speaks to my heart, brother, because, I've struggled with addiction myself. So the program has implemented in Mount Sinai Hospital, Microsoft, Dr. Oz's Share, and this spring, Jay and Cindy Barshop will be opening the W Health Addiction Center. Super exciting, my friend. Jay is also the co-founder of Off the Scale, a healthcare intervention program to help slow, stop, and reverse the progression of chronic illness and disease associated with obesity. He's also the founder of J-Core, which offers his multifaceted wellness program, hailed as one of the hottest at-home celebrity workouts by Us Weekly, and the workout Taking Over Wall Street by Bloomberg Television. Finally, Jay's a philanthropist, a fitness advisor at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, striving to win that battle against cancer. And he resides in New York City with his beautiful fiance, Cindy, and his amazing children, Max, Jesse, and Zoe. Welcome, my brother.
Eric, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for your time today.
Dude, the one thing that I'm always grateful for is time. And I love that you acknowledge that also, because I think that that's the one thing that we have, that resource that's limited. And we want to make sure that we're, really using that to our fullest potential, fullest advantage. And to me, I find that, our experience are a huge component of using that time in a powerful way in providing that value to the world. And I often say in the Resilient Minds podcast in the community, we always discover and discuss and say, how are we using these experiences to really encapsulate our whys? How are we showing up and taking these experiences or these defining moments and project us into a way that is going to bring our vision to a new light, or our why, or our decisions that determine our destiny, right? And so really, I want to get it started off this way, brother. It's like, what has been something that has just defined you, that has determined from that moment, no way, no how, no more, I'm going to step the fuck up, I'm going to step into this, and I'm going to decide and commit that I am going to make this my purpose, my mission, my vision, and I'm going to show up in the world in the most empowered way. Or maybe there was a couple of them, but something that has happened in your life that you knew this was the reason that I was put on this planet for.
Sure, that's a great question. And there's 3 really pinnacle times that has defined me in this world, and knowing my purpose, and just rising to the occasion. The first one is, and each one of these, I just want to preface it by this: I have gratitude and I'm grateful for each one of these to have happened in my life. People think like, when things happen to you, you're like, oh, you point your finger, and blame. It's not a blame game with me. It's all about gratitude and thankfulness. The first one is many people know, I spoke about it on many shows and spoke about it publicly. I'm not a survivor of. I have gratitude for being sexually abused by a neighbor through the ages of 6 and 9. And when I say I have gratitude for it, it wouldn't have made me the man I am today. It wouldn't have made me the father that I am today, for having the ability to be able to reach, create rapport with people, and just to understand what my children go through on an everyday basis in terms of turmoil, in terms of understanding about the world, and also relationships. The third is when I broke my spine. I was an athlete. I was fortunate. I was an athlete at the University of Arkansas. I was on a 1996 national championship team, and I came down wrong in a jump. I was a long jumper, and kind of my disc went forward and my spine went backwards, and I wound up in a body cast for about 6 months. So for about 2 years, I spent just learning to walk again. And it was a traumatic experience, but it was a great learning experience, because at that point I had really gratitude for my body. We're in this vessel we don't know how long it's going to be. It could be a year, it could be 100 years. We're not sure, but I have gratitude for my body. I have gratitude each and every day that I wake up, and I have gratitude for the ability to walk, the ability to run, the ability to pick up my children. So that's been a very poignant situation for me. And the third is it's all bundled in. In 2016, I don't want to say unfortunately, but I went through a horrific divorce that left me both bankrupt and homeless. And it was at that point that I had to say, listen, you're out there every day telling people, never give yourself the opportunity to ask what if, rise above to the occasion, passion breeds passion. You have to start speaking to yourself. So what I did at that point from 2016 to today, I coach myself. Every day I dedicate anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours reading. Every day I do my priming exercises at 4 o'clock from 4 to 6:30. It's my most selfish time. I wake up every day at 4 o'clock a.m. and from 4 to about 6:30, I'm just invested in myself. It's when I do my most work on myself, my reading, my journal. And I always end up by asking myself 2 questions, Eric. What am I looking forward to today? And what's the outcome I want? And that's the roadmap for my body. That's a roadmap for my mind. And that's a roadmap that I have set for myself each and every day, because we never know when today is going to be our last. And my dad always said to me, he goes, never give yourself the opportunity to ask what if. And most people will do that. Most people, just before they take their last breath, they say, what if I would have done this? What if I would have done this? If after this podcast or even during this podcast, I take my last breath, I'm never going to ask myself that question. I'm so thankful and fortunate to have gone through all those 3 periods of my life.
Brother, I just really want to acknowledge, first off, all the encapsulation of having 3 big, determining factors that continue, help you run towards, right? And they ignite that within you immediately. And what I love is hearing this distinction of waking up in the morning and sharing that gratitude for yourself first. Because I think that is a huge distinction that so many people forget, that they want to go out there and create, manifest, encapsulate, change the world, be successful, have all these external validations, but so often they forget about the number one priority, themselves.
It's so true.
Go ahead.
No,
please.
I'm sorry. No, I'm saying you said something very poignant there, is that we need to invest more in ourselves, and we don't do that enough.
Absolutely. And this is why I believe so many of us, we come to this world, we have these unique experiences that have made us into the versions that we are today. And these unique experiences is what makes us really identify our superhuman powers. That's who we are. We're our own superheroes. And I want to identify that so many of us that are looking out there this is why this excites me. This is why the Resilient Minds podcast excites me. This is why I do what I do excites me, is identifying with brilliant minds like yourself, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, speakers, amazing individuals that are doing huge things in the world, all have a common ground. And the common ground is being grateful for themselves and working on themselves to then encapsulate and bring that forward to the world. So brother, I just want to acknowledge that, because that time that we work on ourselves, I think that so many of the audience really needs to hear is like, wow, take time for yourself, because that is what's going to bring the best outside of you from within you. And I just finished Date with Destiny with Tony, so I'm a little bit like, woo! You know?
No, let's go.
I love it.
I enjoy the energy, and that's our rapport. So we have good rapport with one another, because I love that energy.
I love it, brother. Appreciate you. So, dude, you've been on this journey. You've experienced, so much of life. But tell me, like, based off of that unique foundation, that routine, those morning experiences, how has that allowed you to really show up on a day-to-day basis? Because, that's the part of the resilience of keeping, of going, of manifesting, of turning our, quantum understanding or our like visions into that 3D physical space. So tell me how these, 2.5 hours in the mornings allow you to really show up at your full capacity.
Sure. If you look at it, think about your mind as a phone for a second. And even though we get the rest, you get the 6 to 8 hours, whatever you're getting per night, that's all well and good. However, that 4 to 6 for me is when I'm charging. It's like plugging the phone into the wall. It's when I'm charging, so I can then be a vehicle of information to give to people. Without that time working on myself, that's something I'm going off on a tangent real quick, but people forget to work on themselves. They think it's a selfish thing. They think like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have the money. What are you talking about? Invest in myself first thing in the morning. If you don't invest in yourself, how are you going to be able to invest in other people? The majority of us wake up, we hit the alarm clock, we hit the snooze button, we do it again, we do it a few times. And then what happens is that we rush. We grab the coffee, we grab the donut, we get the kids ready. And we're out the door. These days, we're on the Zoom call to work, but you didn't give yourself the time to prepare. And I always want to say this, we're all athletes. We may not be catching the football or throwing the basketball in the hoop or hitting the ball out of the park, but we are athletes. And if you think about this, our playing fields are different. If you ever go to a game and you see the athletes, and maybe the game starts at 7 o'clock, the athletes get there about 4:30. They start warming up and preparing around 5 o'clock. They're in the training room getting taped up. They're getting their last meal in, and then they're out there, and then they're shooting and going through their warm-ups or whatever they're doing to get their mind and body prepared. And I tell people, we're athletes. Where are you getting your mind and your body prepared to get out on your field of play, your court? And we all have to think of ourselves as, listen, you may not be in the best shape of your life. However, you are an athlete, and you should be conditioning your mind to prepare yourself to get in the best shape of your life. Because if we don't condition ourselves, how are we going to expect to condition other people, to create rapport with people? And with me, I'm going to use some Tony words. It's a must for me. There is no desired state. It's a must. Each and every day, I live it like it's my last. And by the time I crawl into bed, I'm exhausted. I could barely keep my eyes open, because I know I gave every ounce of my body and my mind to serve.
Brother, and one thing that I just want to implement there is like, or not implement, just what came up for me when you were sharing that is Jim Rohn, stand guard at the door of your mind. 100%, yes. Right? Like yes. That's what I felt come through you right now. And to me, it's like now you've been doing this and supporting your mission, whether you're speaking, you're supporting individuals around the planet, doing things. And now with this intervention program that you've got going on, and you're opening up this rehabilitation center. So let me understand a little bit more about that, because I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a crack addict like 13 years ago. And I was heavily into that. And it was bad. And I'm grateful for it, because it gives me that rapport and that understanding of like, wow, that is something that really we can step into. And I can relate to people that have had different addictions in their own experience. So allow me to understand how that's that PTSD or these rehabilitation program that you're helping people step into. How has that been really a powerful why for you? And why is that?
Sure. I always say I went through the worst of times to give people the best of times. You know, we have our dreams that we have at 8, and then someone tells us no, and then you're 68 and you wonder why. My job is to help people define their dash, and that's all my program is. It's called Defining Your Dash. It's between the date of birth and the date of death where you're going to leave your legacy. And I want people to understand that they have the power. We are the author of our life. You have the pen, but so many people, what they do is they hand the pen over and they let someone else write their history. That's where I step in. I went through the worst of times to give people the best of times so they can define who they are. And whether I'm working with you, whether I'm speaking with you, if God forbid I get into an elevator with you or sit next to you on a plane or wherever it may be, I'm going to speak to you because I may have an opportunity at that point to say, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're incredible, and you can make it. I remember getting on an elevator and someone said to me, you know, same poop, different day. And I said, it's not. Today may be your last day. And with that mindset, are you really going to go to bed asking yourself, I did the best I could? No, you're going to go to bed and say, what if? And when you die, you're going to say, what if? And I want to jump in right here and tell a quick story. And this is a story that's always been with me. And it gets me a little choked up because it's about my late father. So I was 12 years old and we were sitting on the couch and we were watching the Giants play, and we had one of those TVs where you bang the side and just get a good picture. And he asked me a question. He said, who's the best player on the screen? So I was like, quarterback. He's like, no. Linebacker, no. I named every position. Every time I named the position, he said no. He said the best player is somebody in the stands. It's somebody who gave up on themselves, who beat themselves. See, our worst enemy is ourself. And it's just as Jim Rome said, you're protecting up here. Internally is that enemy. And now my father said to me, he goes, and now he's wearing somebody else's name on the back of his jersey. And that's what I never do. I never buy my kids jerseys with somebody else's name on the back and let them wear them. They get their own jerseys with their own surname on it. Because whether they become an athlete, whether they become a doctor, a teacher, whatever they become, they are their own person. They have their own dreams. And someone in the stands is now cheering for somebody else and wondering, what if? And I take that story and I'll take that to the grave. And that's one thing I'm passionate about each and every time I'm awake, each and every time I'm in front of someone, and each and every time I pick up the phone to answer someone's call, is I want them to write their destiny, to find who they are and define that dash.
Brother, that dash, defining the dash, beautiful and amazing. And that has been, how does one, and if you could describe the process of defining their dash, what would be like the foundational steps that anybody listening right now is like, I want to start defining my dash. I'm sick and tired. This is bullshit. All I want to do is make a change right now. Or they're like telling you, or somebody that might be saying, yeah, right. Like I can't, there's no fucking way. Like, are you kidding me? I can't define my dash. I'm a, manager of my circumstances. I'm not a creator of my life. This is bullshit. What would you say?
If you are a creator, I would ask everybody to take a good look in the mirror, and I want you to talk to yourself. See, we're not going to hang out with people who we talk to up here. What I mean by that is that we put ourselves down. You're never going to have a friend that talks to you the way you talk to yourself. So I always ask people to tame your tongue. See, what's the strongest muscle in your body, Eric? It's your tongue. It can make or break war. It can make or break love. It can steer you through any storm. What you say, you will become, and who you will attract. So start looking at yourselves in the mirror, taking a good look at who you are in the mirror. And what I first do with people is I have them write what we call an unloved letter, so we can get to the root cause, because we all have a root cause. We all have trauma in our life at one point or another. And I have them write a letter, not to the drug, not to their food of choice, because I always say food is a habit, but it's not the root cause. So what I have them do is write the letter, maybe to their mother, maybe to their parent, maybe to a teacher, maybe to an ex-love, maybe to the ex-partner, whoever it is, maybe to themselves. And I have them write the letter Be as descriptive as possible. Get up and read it out loud. And generally, they're like a soda can, all shook up, and then just scream. Maybe you want to punch a pillow. Maybe you want to punch a punching bag. Maybe you just want to run in place, but get it out. Once you open the wound, the healing can start. And it's at that point, we really need to look within ourselves and say, who am I? Then what do I want to become and why? See, people are so scared that they're not going to have enough money. But one thing that the pandemic has really shown is that it's okay to be alone. It's okay not to have interactions with people, because you can have some great interactions up here with yourself. And everything is going to be okay in the end. Listen, I had COVID. I lost family members from COVID. I know what it is. So I walked through those walls as well. But what I wanted people to know, and when people are listening or watching, is that you can do anything you want. You just have to start. You know, as we're both fans of Tony, and you work closely with him, it's like you buy the fitness product, you're in that what we call your desired state. But when are you going to put yourself in a must state? Number one, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And the most successful people in the world that we looked at, they live in fear. Fear that they're not going to have enough time. But what they've done is they become certain in their mind. See, if you could see it here and you can believe it here, then it can happen out there. Because your mind doesn't know if your body's doing it or not. Roger Bannister, the one who broke the 4-minute barrier, proved that. So become so obsessed with taking massive action. Become so obsessed with living your day like it's going to be your last. And become so obsessed, and this may seem morbid for some people, with your funeral. See, I always have this vision that 10,000 people will show up at my funeral and they'll thank my children for having me come into their life. When we focus on that exit strategy, when we focus on that exit plan, it chokes me up a little. I want the words, and he for the next page, and he for the next page at the funeral. And anybody listening to this can have the same thing happen. Become obsessed with today, because it may be your last.
Dude, that I think is the epitome of really leaving a legacy and having that intention. First of all, I felt that, I really felt that intention is there with you, brother. And how can we continue to not only talk about it like we do regularly, but what I feel is really powerful is that the fact that we are willing to really live it through our actions. And you talked about massive action. You talked about continuing to lean in and making that, and same thing is like, we want to work on our minds. We want to work on our bodies. We want to work on our, whatever we want to succeed in. And I find so many times the people I talk to, they're always wanting to learn more. But they miss the part of massive action. They miss the part of actually implementing and executing those thought processes. And to me, I find that that's where there's a missing gap a lot for most people. It's like, even with this COVID situation, in the fear, people get so strung up in the fear of COVID. But if they actually did their homework, they realize that, 90% of everything that's happening is there have been no more deaths this year than there actually were last year. And that has been, and 90% of the results from, the COVID test are actually, it's 90% not factual. It doesn't have that much of a truth behind. And the owner of the COVID test actually, came out and said this information, that it doesn't actually have that good of a result, and it's not meant for this. And people would be coming in for heart disease or or like a heart attack or something, and they would end up having COVID, but they would die because of a heart attack. And then the numbers, they would say that they died because of COVID. So factually speaking, it's like people are taking all this knowledge and they're not actually executing to see if it's truth. People are taking all this knowledge and they're not actually executing it to make it a reality. So, and it doesn't need to be COVID related, it could just be, life related, of course. What do you think really needs to happen for most people to really step into the presence of not only love, but of doing things and being that individual, being the human being and doing what needs to be done in order to take their brilliance or their possibilities, like whether they're, an amazing coach, whether they're, an amazing doctor, and actually making that not being about themselves, because we're here to serve. And that's why, you want to leave that legacy. That's why I want to leave a legacy. That's why I want to show up. But why do people want to make it so much about themselves or taking about just the knowledge and not actually showing up for people? Or how can they do that? What would you suggest? And I know I asked you a shitload of questions and tremendous energy, but I think you understand the gist of it, because you really you gave me this, I don't know, just some flow came through. And I really love that distinction that you made about that service.
Sure. So, we all have the potential, and, you know the four squares. You have the potential. If you take massive action, you get the results. In the belief system, many belief systems is, see, I told you so, I can't do it. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. And what we do is we become attorneys for our problems. We enlist ourselves as lawyers for problems, going, see, I told you I couldn't do it. I told you I couldn't. I took massive action. I didn't happen. So change your strategy. It's as simple. If you think about it, I want you to think about a golf club, right? If watch the degree of this golf club, if you could see my hand, I just shifted a little. That little shift can drive the ball differently. That little shift, that little strategy, that little change in your life can make the biggest difference. So if you want something, if you figure out your route and you're ready to go and you're ready to serve and it's not working, change your strategy. Enlist. Your greatest strengths are arm's length. Pick up a phone, call somebody. Nobody is self-made. There's always been someone that has mentored someone to become better or better about themselves. So your greatest strength is arm's length. And lastly is repetition is the mother of mastery. You have to be consistent. You have to practice ritualistically on a daily basis. That's what I do. I do my morning rituals. It may take a half hour, it may take an hour, it may take 2 hours, but I'm investing in myself so I can better serve others. And I know, just like I said, at the end of the day, it's a race that I'm running. It's a marathon. And when I cross that finish line and I lay in the bed, I'm exhausted. So know your target, know your target's audience, meaning in a sense, who you're creating that rapport with, and know yourself.
So when you, and knowing yourself, so it sounds right now like when you're sharing this, there's a lot of integrity that comes through you. And what I'm hearing is, integrity, intention, passion, purpose. How do these values show up in what you've been able to accomplish thus far? And going back to, even the rehab center, my apologies. What was the addiction center that you had, or that you've created with Cindy? So that basically, how does that show up? How do those values show up in creating that space?
I look at anybody I work with as an extension of me. So just as teams, I'm just going to use a sports analogy. Everybody on that team is a representation of the team. If they go out and do something, you look at the head, you look at the coach, you look at the team president. Are they not harnessing good qualities, good values, because their players are going out and doing this? So every time that I'm interacting with the person that I'm working with, I always think that they're an extension of me. So I work hard on myself each and every morning so I can instill and implement my values, my strategies into them. They can then curate it into themselves, but they're an extension of me when our program is over. My job, I always tell people, is not to be hired. My job is to be fired. I wake up every day to be fired. And people say, what is that? But you're never going to have a job. No, if I'm serving people and they're what we call U-turning, or they're becoming, going back and forth to rehab, then I'm doing a disservice, not only to myself, but to others. I don't want to fill beds. I want to empty beds. So my job is to be fired.
And when you say like being fired, I know, like, I know that you're coming from a place of like wanting them to be so empowered that they know how to do themselves. What more do you think when people are saying, you know, or they come up with having opposite point of views based of what your thoughts are? How do you show up? Because they can say, hey, I don't have the same, you know, thought process or belief systems as you do, Jay. So you're fired, or I don't even want to have anything to do with you. How do you respond to that, bro?
Listen, rapport is power. We both know that so well. You know, if someone's coming up to go, you're never going to help me, I'm going to go, yes, I am. And you may be right. You know, Dr. Erickson was just like that. So what I have to do is I have to find rapport. If I'm wearing a jersey and you're wearing it from our opposition or opposing team, we're not going to be congruent. So I have to show up at their level, not at my level. I practice my values, I practice my rituals, and I implement them by creating first a rapport with the person in front of me. I'm mirroring them. Whatever they're doing, I'm doing. If they're folding their arms when they first sit down, I'm folding their arms. I'm folding my arms when they first sit down. If they're talking at a high pitch, I'm talking at a high pitch. If we're low, monotone, I'm bringing it down. If he's sitting on the couch, she's sitting on the couch, I'm getting on the couch with them. I have to meet them at the point of pain. That's the most imperative thing, is I have to create rapport, because rapport is power. And if we want to be congruent, we want to grow and want to give them their legacy, I have to meet them where they're at.
And when you do that, and sometimes, you know, we know about like pattern interrupts and getting like curious about, you know, how people are really spending more time out of their head and maybe back in their heart. Like what makes you laugh to like help yourself maybe bring like that flow? What excites you more, Jay, to like bring that so that, you know, you're showing up in that humor or that fun, that playfulness energy for people sometimes that may be difficult to communicate with? Is that something that you use? I'm just curious to see what your thoughts are. Sure.
We're all children at one point. Yeah. And I always say we have to regress to progress sometimes. You know, and you know, if you can strike up a chord that is humorous, you know, the person at that point is going to go from this to this. And that's one of the things. I regress to progress, because we're all children, and generally speaking, a lot of trauma happened there. So in a sense, to reach that person, I may have to become very childlike.
And do you feel like because of that willingness to like traverse differently and back and forth, you know, through your inner child, playfulness, happiness, you know, seriousness, focused energy, determination, is that has been a massive factor for you to be able to transform and change your life?
Not only for the people around me, but for myself as well, because I had to dig in. I had to get to my root cause of why I was doing what I did, or what I am doing, in an essence, to grow. It's almost like, if you think about it, when we make our, we're getting ready, you know, for the holidays and making your New Year's resolutions. But if you don't resolve, how are you going to progress forward? You know, we all say by the 15th of the month, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and do this. But if you still have the problems and the wounds are still open, you're just going to fill them. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a void in your life. Mm-hmm. So before you can make the resolution, you got to resolve. And resolve happens up here.
So true. And that is like, it's that decision, that choice, that distinction, once we have it here, that we can actually step into. And for somebody that is looking for some simple steps to change their life, Do you have a couple steps in simple steps, or 3 or 4 steps, or maybe 10, I don't know, that they can do right now to really build that resolve?
Sure. Start using this word, currently. See, whatever follows I am, you become. If you say I am this, you're going to become this. But if you say currently I am going through, maybe you're saying currently I'm going through a financial situation. Currently I'm going through a bad divorce. Currently I'm going. It's not taking much ownership. It's just part of the process. And again, to be successful, the process is like this and goes all up and down and around. But once you say I am, it's a conviction. And what I'm terrified for some people to do is convict themselves with negative things. I am broke. I am fat. I am this. No, you are not. You are currently. But if you're choosing for that to be your destiny, you got to change your words. And the word currently is such a strong, strong, strong word that can be implemented prior to I am, that can save so many people to leave. If they're not leaving, it could save so many people from realizing their legacy and realizing their destiny. So I would watch your words. The second, we all know this, we are the average of the 5 people we hang out with the most. Watch the people you're hanging out with. I call people 2 things. They're either weeds, they're going to come down and clamp down you, or they're tail waggers. And what a tail wagger is, for those of you who have a dog or know about dogs, you leave the room, you come back, and the dog's wagging its tail like it hasn't seen you in days. You have to find cheerleaders. Cheerleaders are going to celebrate your joy. Cheerleaders are going to give you a hand when you fall down. And cheerleaders are going to get in your face, wipe the dirt off, and say, you're better than that. So those are the 2 things that I really feel people should watch out for, is the word currently, because whatever follows I am is conviction. And you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Wow, brother, that's amazing. Totally agree with that. It's the proximity is power, 100%. And I love that distinction. Language, it's so important. It's like language focus and physiology. Let's do it, right? You've given us this path of success, bro. It's beautiful. And I really would love to understand, what is one reason why you think people fail?
Fear. One thing is fear. What happens if I go out there? Are people going to judge me? What are people going to say? What happens if it doesn't work out the first time or the 1,000th, millionth time? My thing is, so what? Successful people have fear, just like I said earlier. We have fear that we're going to run out of time, but they have fear of how they're going to be judged. And at the end of the day, I really have to say this, nobody really cares. People are so self-absorbed, and so people are just so looking at themselves that if you fail, yeah, they may say, see, I told you so. But at the end of the day, they're going to bed thinking about themselves. They're not going to bed thinking about you.
And I think that the distinction there too, if I may add, is like having so many people, like if they don't care, if you're worried about the people that care, are the ones that are going to support you through the process anyways.
100%.
Right? Like
yep.
it really is like, for me, and the reason that I noticed that is because it's been something that has shown up in my life recently, is like the people that really give a shit in times of uncertainty or like ebb and flow, and usually in the time of ebb that that these beautiful individuals get to show up. And then it really starts to flow. So that to me has been like super inspiring in my own life. And I'm certain in yours as well, Jay. Like when you're in ebb and like somebody, because of that proximity, comes up and says, listen, man, like, let me support you. How can I help you? What can I do? Let's get creative, whatever the case may be there. That allows you to like step back up to that occasion and be willing to step into that power and grace that's been provided for you. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. We do become very habitual when we're surrounded by people. And that's one of the biggest things, is that that we really have to be careful who we spend our time with. Listen, you're always going to have negative people. You're always going to have negative times. You're always going to have things happen in your life, but we really have to watch out who we are investing our time with, because, you know, we see the divorce rate. I've went through it. We've seen the divorce rate climb.
Yeah.
We've seen, you know, voids being filled, and then complacency happens. And then all of a sudden you leave that person that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. So we need, in a sense, to watch who we're spending our time with. And we need first, if I could send another success thing out there and is people need to start dating themselves more. You know, I don't mean to take this off on a tangent, but it's really imperative that people start to understand who they are. Majority of people don't know who they are. You know, when you can, you know, you have dinner by yourself, you watch a movie by yourself. You know, in a sense, you read by yourself, you go for a walk by yourself. We're so fearful of being alone. But one of the most imperative things is that you have to be alone to understand who you are. And if you don't know who you are, how can you give yourself to anybody else? And the majority of us don't know who we are. So before you invest in any sort of relationship, whether it be a business relationship or a personal relationship, know who you are, because so many of us have wounds that are open. And if those wounds don't heal, you're just going to fill those voids with some really bad people, because what you say you will become and who you will attract.
Bro, you know, Rumi said, you know, our deepest wounds where our greatest light comes in, right? And
yep.
I find that, you know, that's the gift, is like so much of us, we go through these experiences and these uncertainties. And when we break through with that resilient mindset, you know, which is why I love like the resilience behind like what we're always moving forward with, it allows us to really become the person we're meant to. And it's always a newer version. We're never there. You know, we're never there, which is the exciting part, but like, that is like the exciting part. So, brother, I just want to really acknowledge your brilliance and thank you for your time today. I know we got a few minutes left, but I wanted to just like really, you know, how you're showing up, what you're sharing, how you're articulating and so eloquently. It's like, it's really amazing. I could talk with you for hours, you know, like I feel like you and I could just sit here and talk for hours and maybe we'll do a longer version in the future.
We do. One day we're going to do that.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, this is the fun part of just like being able to connect. And for those of you, you know, Jay and I literally just met an hour ago, like first talking. So you can imagine like the rapport like that was built immediately just on the show. And this is fun. You know, this is fun for me, brother. But Jay, bro, if anybody wants to like find out more about you, connect with you, understand more about ways that they can, you know, learn more through your books or anything, how can they find out more information?
The best way is just at J Cardiello, JayCardiello on Instagram. DM me, and I get back to everyone that DM me.
Beautiful. So I'll throw that link in the show notes, my brother. And before we go, I got one last question I want to ask you that I ask all my guests. If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do, bro?
What would I do?
Yeah.
What would I do? 3 days left. It's a great question. I would go camping with my children and my dogs, and I wouldn't go to sleep. And I would spend each of their waking hours just listening. And while they were sleeping, I would write each one of them the dearest letter that they'd ever read. And you're going to choke me up. And I would make them each a recording of how proud I am of them. You got me.
Brother, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for that authenticity, that vulnerability, and that love, bro. I felt it. And you know, I've asked this question to, you know, over 100 people now. And fascinating that for the first time, somebody like really took that deep internal thought.
Mm-hmm.
Although everybody had very similar answers about family and spending time, and
sure,
it was amazing how you really felt it and embodied that. So a huge distinction, brother. And it's like, you know, it's when we're able to search, we are really digging deep. And that, bro, was like beautiful to watch and something I really noticed. So, brother, you are just a blessing, my friend. I really look forward to connecting more and in person.
Thank you.
When this whole situation changes. But dude, if there's anything, you know, that you want to share, any last words that you want to provide to the audience, please feel free, bro.
Yeah, everybody that's listening, and just never give yourself the opportunity to ask what if, because today could be your last day. So live it like it is.
Amen, my brother. Bless your heart, bro.
Thank you.
I look forward to connecting, and we'll talk soon, my man. Oh, and you guys, wait. Check out Jay on Instagram. Make sure you like, comment, and share this podcast, because we'll reshare it. We'll share the love, and we want to make sure that we're always, you know, spreading the love, guys. So much love to you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.